You were commissioned to do this show because you were given the Ethel Eichelberger Award.
Yes.
Which of course is something very dear to my heart because I worked with Ethel during his lifetime.
Well, explain to people who Ethel Eichelberger is.
Yeah.
Ethel is currently deceased, but he was an incredible actor, playwright, musician. He worked with the Ridiculous Theater, then went out on his own and writing his own pieces. He wrote 31 plays. He was a seminal figure in the East Village performance art scene and nightclub scene. He worked at the Pyramid Club, which is where I met him, dancing on the bar at the Pyramid.
Yay.
The only way to meet the next person you're going to work for. And since his death, an award's been established. It's lives at PS 122, and every year an artist is named a winner of the Ethel Eichelberger Award and commissioned to write a new piece. And this is how you ended up writing this.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting because people probably know you from Circus Amok, which is a traveling political theater outdoors. It's in the parks. Many people in New York have probably seen Jennifer before in that. But this is not like that. This is quite a different thing for you.
Yeah, it was a huge departure, so I was really thankful to the Ethel Committee because it was one of those times when they say, try something new, and you go, I don't want to try something. I do what I do because I do it, but actually I did want to try something new, and I had been having a hankering, I think, to go back into the theater, deep in the back of my mind.
And this gave you that opportunity.
And this gave me the opportunity to get out of the parks.
Well, how is the theater different from the circus?
Well, I don't have to worry about the weather, for one thing.
It's indoors.
So like this whole weekend,
that it's been pouring.
Traumatized. Right, Joe's canceled. Once we set it up the first night, it stayed up.
Sure.
So the practicalities are just fantastic. Lights, we can have blackouts, we can end scenes and start new scenes. So all of that stuff is just a fantastic housing. It's like easier and easier, and a different focus. Of course, we end up performing, for the theater crowd, and in the parks, I perform for, all of New York, from East New York to Coney Island to the South Bronx. But here, what I was able to do was just to use explore whole new styles of acting or grow styles I'd started, and to use a lot more language. Like you can, you just can only use sort of 3 or 4 lines per scene in a circus when you're outdoors.
You're shouting and people
are shouting. You have to get it out in a very minimal way, and I think you felt some of that still in this play. It was some of the language.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about the writing, because it's one thing I found very interesting about the piece. We often talk to artists here about collaboration, and obviously what you do requires enormous collaboration, but you didn't co-write this piece. You sort of had a cameo guest writer that wrote one part, and it gave an incredible difference in the voice of that part. So how did you decide to do that? How did you pick Deb Margolin, who was the writer?
The amazing Deb Margolin. Well, when I first got the commission, it really popped in my mind that I wanted to do a big, campy play, and I really wanted to do the acting in that. Not so much necessarily the writing, and I thought, who could write me a play? I've never really written a play. I thought, oh, Holly Hughes, well, she's so far away, and we've never really worked together in this way, and various writers, and I couldn't go there. I sort of realized that I was the one that had to
conjure sort of have to do this.
Yeah, I was going to do it myself. But in that process, I sort of thought, it just came to me that I could get someone to write for Bernie. I was sort of thinking character at a time almost, but it just stopped with the first one that was Bernie. I'd been reading a lot of Deb at the time, and been reading about Deb. She'd come into my world through the Drama Review and a book I was reading on feminism and pedagogy about teaching, and her writing was so eloquent, and her heart was so present in all this writing about her that she seemed like one of the most beautiful writers and one of the nicest people in the world. And I thought, how perfect for Bernie. Like, let's get the nicest person to write the most evil.
Tell folks who Bernie is.
Bernie Madoff has a big part in the play. The Ponzi scheme guy, the guy that brought down millions.
And this is played by Racy Wright.
In a way, part of the play is about people who were ripped off by him, and then their reaction to that.
It's a big campy revenge play. And it's another way it's different than the circus. In fact, the circus as a piece of political theater, I would have really had to put in a lot of analysis about how it's not actually about Bernie. It's really about the banking system. It's about deregulation. It's about, you know, things we can. But here in this play, in this theater, I kind of could let all my like hardcore Brechtian training go, although it still is in many ways, and just have this revenge fantasy. So I just asked Ray if she would write a couple monologues for Bernie. And she sent me these incredible pages of writing, and that was it. I mean, we didn't go back and forth. I didn't say a little more of this, a little more.
That's great. It
was
worked
an
out
amazing
beautifully.
process.
Well, it works, I think.
Thank you.
Incredibly
Good.
well. It really sets that character apart.
So she wrote her part, the part where she's
No, Ray
speaking-
played the part.
Oh,
Deb
I-
Margolin wrote the part.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see, right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, very interesting. And I want to find out a little bit more about you, how you got to this point. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got into theater.
I started out juggling, and as we could see, there was still juggling. It was sort of
There's
self-hating
quite a lot of juggling in the play. If you like
self-hating.
juggling, it's a great play. There's a lot of juggling.
Well, I mean, just the opening, act. But
Well, there's a lot of other, like,
other vaudeville things.
Yeah.
right, and also juggling in another sense, not
Right,
literal
juggling of characters,
but juggling
yeah,
around.
well,
and-
yeah.
Sure.
And clowning, and I got into the circus arts young, and then I came to New York, and I started working with the incredible Sarah Schulman and Robin Epstein.
Oh,
So where are you from originally, though?
I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut,
Okay.
but I was born in Los Angeles, and I spent a lot of summers in Los Angeles, which I think made a difference, because
Right.
out there I experienced a lot of outdoor
You come from a showbiz
spectacle.
family?
No,
So-
teachers.
Teachers. So
Oh,
you went from
teachers.
well, showbiz and
No,
teaching.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, they're right. The teachers are up in front of crowds of
Right.
kids.
It's very similar.
So I just fell right into it. But Robin and Sarah were actually big influences, and I'm thinking of them now doing this play a gazillion years later, because they were doing campy East Village downtown plays at that time, early 80s.
Right. And so you got into that, and then how did Circus of Muck come about?
So I got into that, and then I was doing a lot of dancing, a lot of postmodern experimental improv dancing, and then go off and do a circus, and then come do some political theater, and we came up through in those days, and here I am again. It's sort of this huge full circle back, PS 122. Like, and Sally Mae's been there as long as I have.
Exactly.
Who's been on this show, Sally?
Yeah,
before?
Sally is
Yeah.
wonderful.
Last year she was on talking about.
She was fantastic.